Hello guys, this is a second video in the series of videos about interview process. And in this one I will tell you some tricks, if you will. Some story first. So I remember I've been once interviewed for a company, and the third party company, like a recruiter company, I guess in London, the recruiters were coming up with the questions for candidates to answer. And those questions were kind of pretty dumb questions, honestly, just because they were predefined questions with predefined answers, right? You're supposed to know the syntax or specific language, and you have to scan through and kind of translate it to guess what the output of this program will be. It's a pretty standard way to test people, just to throw them and let them choose the answers. Anyway, so the problem with this kind of approach is that you're supposed to be some kind of like a compiler. One probably can tackle maybe 10 or 20 of them, but then you become tired just because you cannot just be concentrated for too long doing this kind of exercise. Okay, and I remember I figured that if I go that way, I'm gonna be tired in the middle of these exercises. So I had to come up with some kind of idea how can I save my energy to pass that test. And what I come up with, I just spent maybe a day learning the hotkeys in my IDE, in my editor. So I can generate a piece of code really quickly, right? So let's say I put some combination of hotkeys. I just press some hotkeys and it generates me some standard code, code snippets. So the strategy was like that. I was going through some questions. If it's obvious, I'll answer them. Like, okay, the output will be 5 or 6 or 7 because it's like a super obvious. But sometimes snippet is that big, the question. Like you have to just be really careful about what you answer. There is still kind of high probability that you're gonna miss something, even though that you probably know the syntax and everything, but the probability is still there. So just better if you write this code. So it's kind of cheating, right? If you could write this code really fast. This way you kind of balance between the ability to write a code really fast and choosing the right questions. Either of these you will not work if you're doing only that, meaning if you're writing code really fast, you will still not have time to write code for every single case. If there are like 120 of them or 60, I don't know, right? You have like 2 hours or 1 hour maximum, something like that. So I had to combine these approaches. Like I said, I was choosing the right answer if I could. If I couldn't, I would use the combination of hotkeys just to write the code and see the answer by myself, right? This way, I don't know, I got like 99% or something like that. And these guys, they called me and said like, how come you come up with that high rate? Well, my answer, of course, was just because I'm that professional. That's how, right? But honestly, I was just careful. I really wanted this job, and I come up with this kind of way. And it's kind of cheating, like I said, but at the same time, I don't know, it shows that candidate is able to do what he's been asked. Doesn't matter what the way to implement this, right? It's still me doing the job, right? So that's kind of trick. So this is like a number one trick for your consideration. So if you want to use this kind of stuff, yeah, that's my advice. Just go for that. I think it's legal. So let me just show you what I mean. I just googled the very first Java tricky output questions, and this is very first question is what will be the output of the below code? Actually, it should be of the code below. Anyway, um, so in this case, we see this is a class, and this is a main function, and some condition and break. And the choices. The code will return nothing or error. Well, you may think that this question is easy, so probably it is. But let's say we don't know what the output will be. So let's just try to type it really fast. I already created a class and zoomed for you. It's my IDE, IntelliJ IDE, the editor. So let me show you how fast I can write this code. There's already a combination, and probably you guys, some of you already know of this. The hotkey to create this public static void main string args. So the hotkey is like this: public static void main, bam, done. And then if true, what? Break. Break. So I spent like several seconds, as if you see it, and I got this code there, exactly as on this page. So you see, there is something already wrong. If you think that the answer is nothing, right? Well, it's not really nothing because the code even could not compile. So the trickiness in this code basically that it's not correct. Well, if you don't look carefully, you may miss that the break is not supposed to be here. Right? You think that, okay, this is the break, right? So most likely it will just exit the function, but actually no, we're not supposed to use break here because uh, because it's outside of the switch or loop. We do this when we have a loop, kind of for loop or while loop or some kind of loop. The code is not correct. So you see, even this little piece is kind of not obvious. Sometimes it's maybe easier to write this really fast to double check yourself. Because let's say you're already on, I don't know, you already spent like 50 minutes doing this test and everything is already blurred for you and you're already not sure that you see something or not, you don't believe yourself, right? And here we see just little piece of code. So you better maybe spend 2 minutes and just see the answer right away, right? So that's kind of the trick. So in this case, what's gonna happen? Nothing error. So error gonna happen. That's it. That's the right answer. And that's basically a trick that I want to teach you. Like I said, I don't think it's cheating, honestly. It's a kind of, I would say it's kind of a strategy to get what you want, to get the job done. That's what everything people you need you for, to get job done. You're supposed to be smart, right? You're supposed to be fast. You're supposed to think where you need to think. Some of you probably know, it's like one of my favorite books is Thinking Fast and Slow. When we think fast, we don't spend much energy. Like if something is obvious, we just react and do stuff. But if we think slow, with it requires a lot of energy. And you cannot do this again and again and again because in 10 minutes you will be drained. So be smart and be lazy, right? So that's kind of a trick. Uh, pretty, pretty simple.